Gadell-Newton, and I am running for Governor of Ohio in 2018 with the Green Party. And I'm here today with the Socialist Alternative, and we're protesting the current immigration policies of family separation, and here at the ICE headquarters. We want to have our voices heard, that we're standing in solidarity with families and children who are facing this inhumane practice of separation. And it's my understanding that Socialist Alternative is calling for the abolition of ICE. First of all, let me be clear, immigration is not a national security threat. If we mobilize to abolish ICE without challenging the flawed assumptions underlying its creation in the first place, we'll have played right into the hands of those who traffic in the politics of fear and division. There's much more at stake here than the fate of a misguided and militarized agency of our federal government. So let me say it again, immigration is not a national security threat. Refugee families seeking a safe haven give us the opportunities to exercise our moral strength and nurture the American ideals of freedom and equal opportunity. Hard-working immigrants bringing an entrepreneurial spirit and seeking to contribute to the realization of our shared American ideals make us stronger and safer in every way imaginable. Rather than fearing immigrants and placing them in cages, we must learn from their experiences. They are the living embodiment of the American spirit. Like veterans and freedom fighters across the generations, these immigrants know firsthand the value of freedom. To these exhausted, mistreated, and determined immigrant families, the struggle for freedom is not an abstraction or a gift from the past. For them, it is a personal struggle, a struggle for their very survival. Make no mistake, it's also a struggle shared by all of humanity. The perpetual struggle of the living, the quest for human emancipation, once again being played out in the here and now. So let me say, wake up, America. Our immigrant sisters and brothers are not a threat to our national security. It's important for all of us to show solidarity and unite to liberate oppressed people everywhere and to end the imperialism around the world, starting at home, fighting the empire from within. Today and every day, we struggle to bridge the gap between the ideal and reality, the legacy of American genocide leveled against our native people and the legacy of African slavery, the legacy of systematic exploitation of people of all colors and creeds. We must work to heal these open wounds, to do justice in our time, rather than to descend into the darkness of government-sponsored racism, or to invite a new American fascism from which there may be no return. The Trump administration is waging a shock and awe campaign against America itself as part of an agenda to spread chaos and artificially create a crisis that in their calculation will keep us distracted and fearful to the point where the false security of authoritarian rule would seem to be the best option. We must respond to this assault on the foundations of our American culture, but we must do so in a manner that reaffirms our moral center and true American values. To do less would be to concede to the standard playbook of the tyrants everywhere. Let us not take the bait. Yes, ICE must be abolished, and we must unambiguously denounce the suspension of due process and use of an increasingly militarized federal police force against families and children as violation of human rights, worthy of condemnation by all civilized nations. We must stand together to call out this tyranny, but friends, we must do much more, because eliminating ICE will do nothing if it's not accompanied by fundamental change in the mindset that betrays our most cherished American ideals. The premise that you can make America great by building walls is a lie, perpetrated by a president who lacks any semblance of a moral compass. We must reject the thinking that responds to all social problems, real and imagined, by preaching the religion of division. We can never make our country great by building walls, by building more prisons to cage the poor, by building more exclusive gated communities as fortresses for the rich, by building more internment camps to divide families, creating more urban and rural sacrifice zones to reinforce class divisions, by creating more gerrymandered safe districts to permanently disenfranchise, disempower, and exclude whole communities from participation in our democracy. Friends, it's un-American and immoral to think that our complex societal problems ever can be solved by policies of forced separation, exclusion, and social division, or by building more walls, prisons, and detention centers. Let us acknowledge that we can summon the courage to admit that we are in the midst of a moral crisis. There are implications. All of us are being called upon to reaffirm who we are and what we stand for as Americans. This is an issue that is bigger than party affiliation, bigger than political ideologies or debates about personalities of our leaders, or about the proper role of government in addressing our problems. The overriding moral question is about who we are as a people and who we are becoming. It's about whether we have become so confused and distracted that we're willing to sacrifice the soul of America to feed our fears and scapegoat the most vulnerable members of our society. Or instead, whether we're ready to stand in solidarity and resolve to carry out the sacred and humane work of building a more perfect union in our time as our legacy and the single most important gift we can bestow to our children and to all future generations. Thank you. This is Constance Gadell-Newton. Thank you.